The vehicle warehouse within GTA Online may not be the best way on making money, but it certainly isn't the worst, and is still a viable option within 2023. Quite simply, all you need to do is source a vehicle, take it back to your warehouse, modify it, and then take it to the customer. And this can be rewarding for the very limited amount of time that you need to actually go through it. So in today's video, we're going through the ultimate guide for the import and export business. Setting up the vehicle warehouse to start importing and exporting vehicles is actually pretty straightforward. First off, you will need to buy into a CEO office. These can vary in price depending on what you go for, but typically anywhere from 1 million to 4 million. Once you have access to this, you need to go through a few cutscenes, which is normal for everything, and it may take a bit of time because you cannot skip these. But once you have gone through everything, you will be able to go to your office, sit down at your laptop, and there you're given a few options. We are focusing on the import and export business, so you will need to buy a warehouse. With the warehouse, it really doesn't matter what you go for. They all do the exact same thing, so you might as well go for the cheapest. The only difference is the locations. So on the cheaper ones, you're going to have to travel slightly further, which puts you at more risk for your vehicles being damaged, which will cost you, whether or not you're doing that as part of sourcing a vehicle or delivering a vehicle. If you are just starting GTA Online and you haven't got enough money to buy into the warehouse or the CEO office, then I highly recommend checking out today's video sponsor. MMOGA is a great place for you to find in-game currencies, game codes, as well as heavily discounted games. I use them all the time when a new GTA Online update is approaching because I want to have the most amount of money so that I can buy everything and share content. But unfortunately, buying shark cards by themselves is fairly expensive. So I use MMOGA where I can get shark cards at a heavily discounted price. This allows me to get the exact amount that I was looking for a fraction of the price, or I could double up and get more for the exact same value. If you're looking to get a head start with all of this, then a link can be found in the description down below. So once you've actually bought into your CEO office and you've bought into a warehouse, it will set you back a couple million, but your business is now ready to go. Now with this, you don't need to head over to the warehouse just yet. You can actually stay within your office. If you sit back down at your laptop, you will be able to click your warehouse, and now you'll be able to source a vehicle. The mission that it gives you is entirely random. There's several available, but which one is selected, you have no choice. Your assistant will tell you exactly where to go once you leave your office. It's also random for what type of vehicle this is. This could be standard, mid, or top. Standard has the lowest price, whereas top has the highest. And then this will play out just like any other mission. Most of the time you'll need to go to a location, potentially take out a few enemies. Sometimes it may be stealthy, other times there's next to no one there and you could just go full guns blazing, and then you need to take the vehicle, steal it, and in some situations there's also different types of gameplay mechanics with these. In a lot of cases you'll just need to take that vehicle back to your warehouse wherever you actually have it. But in some cases, there may be a bomb which is connected to it and it starts to play out a bit like speed. You'll need to make sure that you're driving at a high enough speed so that the bomb itself doesn't go off. And you'll need to do this for a minute or two whilst they disarm it. Once that's done, then you could take it back to your warehouse. So there are variations in how you can actually find these vehicles, but in most cases, it's just about finding them and taking them from point A to point B. Whilst doing these missions, if the vehicle takes any damage, that will be taken out of the total amount of profit that you can make. It will actually cost you money right at the beginning. And in a lot of cases, it's next to impossible to avoid this. There are some missions where you will easily be able to take it back to your warehouse with no damage, but in a lot of other cases, you've probably got a helicopter or there's other people chasing you down, shooting at you. And it's just gonna take a couple $100 away every single time that you get hit. And so far, in all my years of playing, there's not an easy way to avoid this. But once back at your warehouse, it's done. Any damage that your vehicle took on its journey will be taken away within the money, but that vehicle is now within your warehouse. It's just staying there until you decide to sell it. Selling a vehicle requires you to stay within your warehouse and go into your office there. In there, you will be able to find a laptop, but this time once you sign in, you're met with a different screen where you can actually manage your stock. Your stock is all the vehicles that you've been able to source. If you've only just done the one vehicle, then there will only be one there. If you manage to stack this up and do several source missions and you've got several cars within your warehouse, then you have this selection of several. You can't do them all at once unless you're playing with friends. And even then, you can't do all of them. You're limited for every single player that is actually part of your group who can then actually take a vehicle for themselves. But typically, it's best to just export one vehicle at a time, especially if you're doing this as a solo player. You can pick whatever vehicle you want to export, and of course, you want to focus on those which are top range. Top range vehicles will give the most money. But before you deliver them, you first need to customize the vehicle. You do this so that it's not recognized. The customization you choose doesn't matter at all. You can honestly go with whatever you think. And in most cases, what I do is just go for it as quickly as possible, selecting the first option for everything. And with this, it also doesn't cost you anything. It's just an extra step before you can actually deliver the vehicle. Now, the export missions themselves are extremely straightforward. You just need to deliver the vehicle to the buyer and take as little damage as possible. 90% of the time on your deliveries, there will be enemies who are also going to attack you. Just like what happened when you first initially sourced the vehicle. It also makes you wonder everything because you spend all of this time customizing it so that people didn't recognize, but the second that you leave your warehouse, everyone knows exactly who you are and they've pinpointed you and I start shooting at the vehicle. Yet again, every single time that your vehicle takes damage, it will take away from the total amount of profit that you can make at the end. Honestly, there's no point getting out your vehicle trying to take out enemies because the second that you kill them, more will show up. So all you need to do is just drive. Drive as quickly as you can from point A to point B, sell it to the buyer, and of course, try to limit the damage as much as possible. This is all you need to do for the import and export business. But now let's actually talk about making profit from this. There are 3 different ranges of vehicles that we've already mentioned, but let's actually talk about the money that you can get from them. If you were going to deliver a standard range vehicle, you're going to be getting $30,000 for every vehicle sold. With the mid-range, this will be $50,000, and finally with the top range, this will go up to $80,000. And of course, you still need to keep in mind that this is the max. If enemies are shooting at you and you take damage, this gradually goes down. As long as you're competent with the game and you can drive, only taking on a slightly bit of damage, you're probably just getting a couple thousand short or losing a couple thousand off of these prices. Now, if you really want to get the best grinding method out of this, the first thing that you need to do is start importing vehicles. You need to source as many vehicles as possible. I recommend getting around 5 so that you have 5 vehicles at your warehouse. It's at that point in which you can start exporting. Hopefully out of the 5 vehicles that you selected that you did manage to go and get a top range. As said, it is random, but this will give you the most amount of profit. Once you deliver that vehicle to the buyer, there will be a cooldown. Unfortunately, you will not be able to go back to your warehouse and select another vehicle to sell. And this cooldown will increase if you bring friends along to play with you. So if you just do a sell delivery by yourself, there will be a cooldown, but it won't be as long. If you've got multiple friends all helping you take 3 vehicles, 4 vehicles, 5 vehicles, then it's going to take considerably longer. But that's when you'll take the time to do even more importing. You'll source more vehicles so that you can have even more at your warehouse. You can honestly just keep this going. You'll probably do anywhere between 1 to 3 source missions for every delivery. And of course, if you really wanted to, it doesn't just need to be source missions because there will be a point in where you max your warehouse out. And that is when you can actually start looking at doing other missions within the game. Maybe you want to focus on doing some other deliveries with your MC business, your bunker, whatever it is. Maybe you just want to spend some time doing some setup missions for heists and ultimately eventually progress to actually doing a heist itself. But if we're just talking about going through the import-export business, you're really going to spend the most of your time doing source missions to max out your warehouse. And once that's done, that is when you'll have to go and do some sell deliveries every single time. You want to maximize this by making sure that you're not wasting too much time. So the second that you can sell one of these vehicles, you should take the time to go and do it, wait for the cooldown, And whilst you're waiting for that cooldown, that is when you'll go and source more vehicles. Once you get into a position where you have a bit more money in the game to spend on other businesses as well as vehicles, you can also buy the Terabyte. The Terabyte has several benefits within the game, but the thing that actually applies to this video is that you can actually use it as a CEO office, which will allow you to sign in on your laptop and just select a source mission so that you won't have to travel back and forth from your warehouse to the office to find a vehicle to take that back to your warehouse and then travel from your warehouse back to your office just to do another source mission. It ends up becoming very repetitive and can be quite time consuming depending where your warehouse as well as office is actually located. If you have a Terabyte, you could just leave your Terabyte outside your warehouse so that the second that you deliver a vehicle, you exit, you go over to your Terabyte, you select a mission, and then go on to the next one. With that said, there still is a cooldown for source missions, but it is only a couple minutes, so you won't be waiting too long. But anyway guys, this is everything that you need to know about the vehicle warehouse business within GTA Online. It is several years old, but it is still a good money maker. If you do have any questions about anything, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.